Hello, I'm Mike Huckabee. Well, I asked for your comments on the fair tax, and boy, did we ever get them. Isn't that what's great about the whole YouTube idea? It's that it's not just about candidates talking to you, it's you talking back to candidates who'd like to be your president. I'm kind of filling out the job application right now as a candidate for president, and that means that I need to hear from you and answer your questions, just like I need to find out what you're going to expect of me if you hire me to be your president. Well, if you do hire me to be president, I've told you that I'd like to see us pass the fair tax. Now, the reason that that's important is because our current tax system and tax structure is so complicated that you have to hire an attorney and an accountant to figure it out unless you want to just get ripped off and send in most of what you've worked so hard for. The fair tax is just that. It's fair. Everybody's got skin in the game, and it's based on consumption, not on your income. So you're not penalized for how hard you work. You're not penalized for how well you do. You really aren't penalized at all. You simply pay for government based on what you go out and spend. Now, it's a fair tax because there's a wonderful provision in it called the prebate. I know some of you had some questions. Well, what about a consumption tax and how does it affect the poor? Actually, it's very fair, in fact, very progressive. One of the reasons I like it and think that a Democrat or Republican, a liberal or conservative could love the fair tax is because of the provision of the prebate, which means that every month, every member of every household gets back an amount of money that would cover what they would pay on the consumption tax for their food and their groceries based on up to the level of poverty. That means if you want to buy caviar, fine, but you're going to be paying more on that than if you're just buying peanut butter and bread. If you haven't read the book Fair Tax, I encourage you to do it. It'll answer a lot more questions than I have the opportunity to answer here today. But here's what I like about it. It's a flat tax across the board on consumption. Secondly, I like it because you know exactly how much you're paying in taxes and what it's really costing you to fund government. That ought to wake us up. Thirdly, all those corporate taxes that chase businesses off our shores and to the Cayman Islands or to Europe or to Asia, guess what? Those businesses come back to this country, back to America, bring those jobs back here when our tax structure no longer chokes them to death. And wouldn't it be nice as an individual if you didn't have to keep up with all of those little pesky receipts and documents that the IRS comes down and wants you to prove that you're not a crook, that you're not a criminal? Wouldn't it be nice to simply say, if I go and purchase something, I'll pay the tax on it? Did you know that there's about 22% of everything you buy that is embedded in taxes? So when you buy a product for $100, the actual cost of the product is really about $78. $22 is the hidden embedded tax in that product. That disappears. So the amount of consumption tax that you pay, the 23% is proposed by the fair tax, is going to basically be a wash by the time that you lose that embedded cost. Then think about the advantages that you're going to have by not having that money out of your check. Look at your last paycheck. See how much was taken out in taxes, Social Security, and all the other takeouts. Imagine all those being put back into your check, because under the fair tax, nobody touches your check except you. And that's empowerment. I hope that you'll realize that this is a great opportunity to open up the discussion, and you already have. If you haven't read more details about the fair tax, please do so. And don't let some critic tell you that it's going to mean that taxes will go higher. The fair tax is revenue neutral. It doesn't raise or actually lower taxes, but it does create a new base in the economy that I think will help to bring a great deal of new prosperity to America and to America's workers and citizens. Look forward to more dialogue with you. Thanks for joining me on this edition of You Choose Spotlight.